All All righty, everybody. I really am truly excited about this next panel. I think that it is a beautiful merger of the worlds that we are actually talking about today. Zen Chu and Yusuf Henriques, outside of just their general titles, they are partnered together on a company called Code Clear. And it is an organic friendship that the two of them share that is quite entertaining to watch. And so it is literally the merger of the two worlds with Black culture as well as MIT innovation coming together, not seeing color at all, just being super excited. I think they talk about like 90s hip hop or something, as well as just like COVID and data and all type of, kooky things. And they ended up creating a company together. And so it's really amazing. And those are the type of collaborations that we are looking to come out of this session and out of this hackathon. And then we are also joined by the wonderful James Lott of Script Health. So you guys are in for a treat of a conversation, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Angel. Angel, you need a talk show, by the way, because I would watch it. Right. That'd be awesome. Well, I am here to I'm here to introduce these two fantastic entrepreneurs and get out of the way, because what the hell do I know? I'm just lucky to have met Yusuf a year ago as he was getting his company partnered with a company he founded in genomics, True Genomics, partnered with the VA. And that was exciting to watch, and it was fantastic to hear his life story. And I fell in love with the guy. And then when the chance came around with COVID to have a company that really could have the military help jumpstart COVID rapid diagnostics, I took the chance to recruit Yusuf in as co-founder and CEO of it. So, that is my job, I think, as a mentor, and I think the part of the panel was about mentorship, is really to just bust open doors and help Yusuf and the team avoid the bullshit that comes in early stage startups, but especially for founders of color. And I think, so let me introduce Yusuf. Yusuf is a former Special Forces medic, injured in battle, came back, went to school, went to the FDA, worked for the DOD in biothreat detection and reduction, and then founded a genomics company, led part of the Mount Sinai effort around 9/11 to genomically sequence survivors and first responders. He's got really deep insights about being in battle, being in crisis, what that has as an effect, on a lasting effect on a person, and the downstream healthcare costs of that. So I think he's got such a rich perspective, and I'm just interested to listen alongside all of you for the lessons that Yusuf can impart. Take it away, Yusuf.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Zen. I wanted to let James, you want to introduce yourself so we could touch on, we're going to change it up a little bit, just touch on, early stage startup, and wanted to hear a little bit about your background as well. As you can see, it's no question what Howard University I went to, the real HU. So we just want to make sure we get that out the way for everybody else that's on the call. I think we've dominated it today, but James, I'll let you introduce yourself since Zen introduced me, and then I wanted to touch on some of the topics that you're starting. I'll start off with starting a company and some of the challenges that founders of color face during, especially healthcare companies.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for welcoming me here. I'm Dr. James Lott. Please call me James. My team makes me say that first part. I'm a pharmacist, a public policy professional, and I'm formerly a former pharmacy law instructor. I'm the founder and CEO of Script Health, and Script Health enables pharmacists to provide easy access to essential and life-saving tests and treatments. We're currently in stealth mode right now. We're part of the SoftBank family, as we've just finished we just completed the SoftBank accelerator program, which I do encourage all entrepreneurs, underestimated entrepreneurs, to look more into that program. It is a wonderful program for entrepreneurs. I basically kind of started my company from a couple of reasons. Number one, from some things that I saw being a healthcare professional as a pharmacist that I didn't particularly enjoy, and I didn't think that was working on behalf of patients and people who typically lacked access to healthcare. And then two, I was kind of pushed into this more directly from injustices that I had as an employee, where I thought that I wasn't necessarily treated fairly. And that may or may not be because I'm an underestimated person, but regardless, I'm happy that I'm here. So just a quick intro to myself. I love what we do and how we're trying to change the world and create more of a world that we want to see. So again, thanks so much for inviting me to the conversation.
Appreciate it. Thanks, James. So yeah, as Zen mentioned, Yusuf Henriques, I'm founder of True Genomics, which is a mental health company using genomics to look at mental health. And so that's an area that I've spent most of my adulthood in, is in healthcare as a medic in the military, and got out in the military injured and really started to see the difference in healthcare being in the military, where everybody's treated the same. To when you get out the military, then it starts to get a little hairy around healthcare. As Zen mentioned, worked for the FDA, and then started really to understand the health disparities and the lack of individuals involved in clinical trials, involved in a lot of the early discussion around health policies. Being at FDA, I was normally one of the only African Americans in the room. I'm making it up the way the government GS scale. And so, yeah, it really gave me a different perspective of trying to figure out ways, as Jane mentioned, into, looking at the health disparities that I was facing in my own neighborhoods, and then bringing that to FDA and try to get those policy adopted so everybody could benefit from it. And it was a struggle, it was a struggle within the government agency to get those type of change, because you're the minority. And so, I made the tough decision about 3 years ago to step outside of the institutional kind of academic setting and government employment, and really start my own company where I could try to implement some of the change that I've seen over my time in healthcare and kind of embed that into True Genomics. And so, the core element of True Genomics is that, mental health is a big issue, especially in the minority community, but I wasn't seeing them represented in the trials. And so I figured, being that I'm a veteran and veterans are a large component of that health system in the VA, I wanted to really make sure that whatever medication that they were going to be providing to myself and other veterans, I at least had somebody, watching the barn. And so, over the last 4 or 5 years, the VA had recruited me to look at, to oversee some of the early PTSD clinical trials with NYU, Mount Sinai, Columbia. And I felt like that was my way of giving back without the uniform, of just making sure that I increased, involvement of minorities and women in the trial. So moved to New York and was able to increase, recruitment in minority veterans almost 300%. Worked with some top researchers there, and were able to identify 3 genes that had a predisposition to PTSD. And, we haven't said much. We were in stealth mode for a while, but, it's one of the most unique and diverse data set that was used, which is there at the Mount Sinai, which is the CDC NIOSH grant that was given for the World Trade Center survivors. We also had Holocaust survivors, first, second, and third generation. And we also coupled that with data set that we got from Emory down in Atlanta. So, I'm proud to say that, the data set that is included in True Genomics is really a true representation of what America is. And I'm hoping that I could scale that to a larger level as I move forward in my career, and have now started another company with Zen Chu. is to really start thinking about that from the design stage of clinical trials instead of waiting until the end when, a lot of the pharmaceutical companies are, not really interested in getting involved with making sure that a most diverse data set is included at the beginning so you really have a good understanding of who those medications are really built for. And again, it's been institutional, so it's not one pointing to one company over the other. I just know it's time to make a change. And I think that was created that fire in my belly when Zen called me about Code Clear and using quantum dots. I think the innovation is just having different people of color at the table brings, innovation, and that's just diversity and inclusion. Why I think it's important to have a well-rounded team of all individuals. Again, the drug trials are not just of lack of minority sample. There's no women in there. So, that's even a larger component and aspect of it. So, when I look at it as overall health, there is a huge disparity in just that area alone. And I know, Freddie and folks on the team, Cy and those guys are gonna, really try to build out a track for that. That's where my passion is around, being part of this hackathon, that I want to drive that away and really sit down with folks like James and another healthcare professional on the team on really driving how we could kind of, start set up verticals on how to address those issues, because there should be no reason why the drug trials are 95% European white males in the 21st century.
Yep.
And so, with that there, Code Clear kind of created out of the COVID, which was the same, energy that I had when Zen called me. I actually said the first time we met and I pitched him, I was like, if this guy ever called me for anything after this event, I'm in. I don't care what it is. And so we've built a relationship as well. And I think part of what today is showing that synergy that you can have with individual with VCs, right? If you guys don't know, getting VC funded as founder of color, there's only been, the statistic shows from Harlan Capital that only 105 founders of color in about 15 years have raised $1 million or more in the last 15 years. And so, I wanted, to kind of highlight the fact that, having Zen as a mentor and just, showing me the ropes of being in the VC world and his experience really galvanized and changed the way I went about doing investment pitch last year, and was able to raise $2 million as of February of this year for True Genomics, and was able to get the relationship with the VA along with some other key partners. So I'm gonna pivot into, start talking about some of the things. Maybe James, I'll throw this first question at you. You could throw one at me. Give them a little bit of flavor of you trying to raise money and just, explain to the audience how tough that it can be being an African-American male in the healthcare space trying to raise funding.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful question, and one that hits very close to home right now.
I have PTSD just asking it.
Oh, man. I have no idea. So this is last week we just hit investor number 95 in the past since July 1st. So we've talked to 95 investors since July 1st. It's been a marathon. Now, look, this is what I'll say. As an entrepreneur, no matter what your race is, you have to have thick skin. All right, you have to. It's hard no matter what. But as a Black founder, I think that you have to have even thicker skin, for sure.
Alligator skin. You got that alligator version.
You have to have even thicker skin, and you gotta stay focused, because the system's not meant for you to come in and thrive. It's just not.
Well, so venture investors with founders of any color skin are very good at saying no and cracking the door open, leaving the door open, because they know that entrepreneur could go out, pivot into a massive, new business model from the ones that are learning rapidly, and you'll miss the opportunity to invest in that if you don't leave the door open. So they use nuanced terms to gently say no and send you on your way. Now, when you guys hear some of that, though, you got, and I'm sure you guys hear different stuff too. I'd be very interested in kind of what is your antenna sensitive to?
So let me tell you what I learned that I had no idea about on this fundraising process. So first off, again, back to shouting out SoftBank's accelerator program. It was truly wonderful. There were, we were the earliest team, but there were teams that were founded by women and folks of color. And what we did was we kind of collaborated all of our experience and shared them with each other, helping each other understand the fundraising process. One thing that I guarantee you I did not know, I had no idea that entrepreneurs had leverage in these discussions. I didn't know that. I thought that the investor was here and we were here, but you know why? That's because that had been my experience. And it could be because of the ecosystem I'm in. I'm in the Chicago area. Chicago venture capitalists have been known to be pretty conservative. So that's something also I did not know. But I had to learn the process from my fellow colleagues. And once I found out that I had leverage because of the network that we had, because of the idea that we had, because of the team we had and the advisors, I started rating those venture capitalists different. I'm okay with getting a no, but how are you as a venture capitalist going to turn your no into a yes? Number one, are you going to give me some milestones to reach? Number two, are you going to open up your network to me? Number three, are you going to give me valuable and helpful feedback? If I don't get one of those three things, I'm never talking to you again because you just wasted my time today. And there are other people who we may align with very well who are willing to help me today, even though their answer is no today. And I've seen that. And I will say what I think, I mean, we're still fairly early, but I think that if you're helpful today, when we're trying to get this idea off the ground, you'll be very helpful tomorrow once we're trying to get on our rocket ship and go to the moon. So I changed my perspective. Thankful to other folks of color who are entrepreneurs who've been successful, and just thankful for having that advice going into these investor meetings because it's been truly helpful.
And what was the best advice you got? What caused you to think about the problem? You knew your problem when you were going in, and in hacking medicine, we teach problem first, go deep on the problem, then figure out what is the solution and the business model that are right, that are optimal for kind of solving that, right? On your journey, what has been, some of the helpful feedback that made you think about that problem differently?
Yeah, the most helpful feedback came from the one room we probably never should have been in. I tricked, as an entrepreneur, you got to be scrappy and you have to be fearless. We tricked a very, very, very big company into having a meeting with us about partnership. We were not ready for that damn company. The fact that we got in there was awe shocking to us, but they took it seriously and so did we. We spent weeks preparing for this meeting. They gave us very valuable feedback. They gave us the most valuable feedback, basically telling us, hey, as if you want to partner with us today, this is a no, but these are some things that we need help with. We are an omni-channel company, meaning we serve our customers online and in a physical presence. If you want to build something that is of value to us, you need to find something that's going to bridge both gaps so we can serve our customers in both ways. And that changed everything. Since we have pivoted there, we have had 100% interest. Anytime I talk on the phone today, I've talked to maybe 25 of my customers. Every single one of them has signed up to be on our list and is waiting for our product to launch. And they think it's going to transform their business and how they speak to customers. So listening to your customers is ginormous. Push boundaries, get into every room you can get into. Of course, don't start with the biggest fish. I've been swinging for the fences since I started. Luckily, it took us a while to get this meeting, but we were ready for it. And that feedback was crucial and it was game changing. And, you know, really happy that we got that feedback and that we listen. That's really important as well, is to listen when you do get feedback.
Right. I mean, that's the most important thing for founders pitching, and the biggest mistake that new founders make is trying to put a million slides together and tell this story and not have an actual conversation and a back and forth and a give and take where you actually get to hear what their hair on fire problems are. And especially in healthcare, the hair on fire problems are very different. You know, there's not a common set of problems from hospital to hospital. You would think there would be, but the way there's so many of them, and the way they prioritize them, or, you know, a big company thinks about its healthcare and its healthy workforce, you know, they approach it very differently. And so you have to match what you're doing to their priorities, or at least what resonates with their executive team, right? And so, you know, kudos to you for being able to listen and have that conversation. And then that absolutely extends over into the communities that we're all in, whether that's the community of entrepreneurs or investors or, you know, corporate innovation types. And you just got to navigate all those by having a, you know, compelling story, and you got to hone that story through the road trip.
Yeah,
Sounds like you're doing it. 95 and counting, and all you need is one, is what we like to say. All you need is one to say yes.
And just as a success story, I mean, it's not a success story yet, but we're at over $500,000 raise. We're trying to raise 1.5. We have $500,000 of hard commitments, another $500,000 soft commitments, pending a lead investor, which, you know, hopefully we can close that gap in the next month or two. So we're pretty excited about that. But you're right, it just does take one, and it is a numbers game. But make sure that you're meeting with the right investors. There are some investors who do Series A only. If you're an early stage company, you should be looking at a pre-seed or seed, and make sure that you know that information before you get into that room, because otherwise you might be wasting your time, or their time. But if they like you, and you'll know, they typically they'll open up their network to you and say, oh, well, we've co-invested with this other group, so I will send you to them. And, you know, after a while, I think the last like 6 weeks or so, I don't think I've cold called or contacted one investor of my own. Everything has been a warm lead. So it kind of just shows, you know, we're onto something, we're hitting our pitches is hitting, and, you know, we're finding some more victories. So I'm not the expert on this. Yusuf just definitely has more experience of being successful, but we are going through it right now and feel pretty good about it.
No, but you've got such valuable lived experience, and I want to pull it out of you. Like, you know, okay, doors are opening for you. People are helping bust open doors for you now. Which ones aren't? Which ones have just been, you know, dropped down a black hole? And how has the color of your skin affected that?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be quite frank. You know, I think that people are driven by different things. I'm from Louisiana. You know, it's where I come from. Not a lot of people make it to an opportunity like I have to be in front of you folks today. I hadn't gotten here because when people put up walls, I personally, it didn't work for me to think it was the color of my skin. That, to me, that would be stressful. I'm absolutely sure it's happened, and sometimes it's been extremely blatant. Especially, I used to live in Seattle. It was blatant a lot there. But that never worked for me. I always just knew I had to work twice as hard. When it's blatant, you call it out, but you keep moving, because it's going to be, statistics tell me that the system is against me, and me just being the type of brain, the type of energy I have, I know that coming in, and if it's a no, then fine. If it's a, you know, and that's why I just want people to be, I hope that people are helpful. And that's kind of all I can hope, but I know it's going to be challenging. I just kind of got to push through it, but I also know that doesn't work for everybody. It's
what strikes me is as you describe your experience, is that you're going to be successful because the passion, you know, and the mission that you're attacking, right, shines through. And the best early stage investors know that when you have a person that and a mission, and those two things are entwined, that person's self-image, that person's self-worth is focused on that mission and entwined with it, that person will crawl through whatever needs to be done, you know, however unsexy, to get it done, however lean it has to be, however resilient the company has to be, right, to get it done. You can get it done, right? It's not I think for many, many years in each boom cycle, you get these posers that want to be entrepreneurs, that have the right look, that thump their chests in Silicon Valley as Silicon Valley bros, you know, that look like, you know, me or frat boys, right? And that's a type, but they can't withstand the challenges of hitting the lows on the roller coaster, right?
There's certainly a lot of lows. That's yeah.
So we have a question in the chat. Let's just answer it. We have about 2 minutes. Did you feel that VCs were approaching entrepreneurs of color differently? Did you experience any blatant racism during fundraising? So you want to take it, or you want me to?
I'll let you take this for right now, Yusuf, because
yeah, no, look, you know, one of the things that you touched on, I did my homework, right? Like Zen said, I've been adamant at this for a long time. I think what happened is Silicon Valley wasn't ready for 5 African-American males to do genomics when I got out there. And so I think it was a level.
And you were in the Illumina accelerator, so you were in the belly of the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah. So we showed up with 5 African-American males, you know, 2 MDs, a PhD and 2 MPHs. And I think, you know, just having the patent behind us and some support behind us made us credible. However, they were just not used to seeing 5 brothers in a room. It just, we went to the Illumina's AWS conference from JP Morgan, and you know there was a 5. I brought the 5 to the party. Like Zen mentioned, it was just frat boys.
Was it palpable?
It was not palpable at all. We stuck out like a sore thumb because we flew in late, so we got there late. So we just hit the door. You know, guys between 6'4" to 5'11" in suits. And, you know, healthcare has always been a tough area. And like you mentioned, you know, I'd already exposed to it at FDA being, you know, one of few, you know, minority African-American males in the sciences. So I got a lot of no's, and I started questioning them because I would go and read their deal flow and they say that they're not in my space, but I would have read their last 3 companies that they've given pre-money to, and they were right up my alley. And so, you know, and then I realized that we were the first African-American genomics company in the country. And so, you know, that took a little bit of getting, you know, to know the right investors, know the right people, sitting down and, you know, pitching over and over. Like you answered, this is probably my 3,000 pitch since 2017. So I've been,
and more to go.
Yeah, so it's part being in the gym, doing what you have to do, but also, I mean, again, I think, you know, we need to see more interactions like this. And, you know, of course, I was grateful to have folks like Zen to support me. I met Secretary Shokin, the former secretary, that also believed in what we were doing. And that kind of helped start creating that credibility. So I think it's a little bit of both. Yes, you know, it's going to be that knee-jerk reaction, especially, you know, I don't look like Mark Zuckerberg and we're trying to raise money. But I think if we have more success story like James or myself with, you know, good mentors like Zen, I think that culture will eventually start seeing that there's value in having diverse, you know, companies with different founders.
Yeah. Well, I think Yusuf, what I love about you is and how you present, and I've gotten to witness Yusuf present to senior military brass and DoD now as well as VCs, and it's when you have a confidence in your mission and everyone feels like the train is moving and they either better get on or get the hell out of the way, right? That is real momentum. And that is how you start it from 0 to 1 as an entrepreneur, whether you're black, brown, or yellow, as my birth certificate said from 1971.
All right.
So, whatever color, it's like show momentum, show a mission, and people will be cheering from the sidelines or actually get behind you.
All right, I think we're up on our time. Pleasure talking to you, Zen, as always. James, happy to meet you. Love to connect with you offline.
Yeah, James, I want to learn more and learn who I can introduce you to.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, everybody. Great meeting everyone. Y'all have a great one.